guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Betty of Happy Little Loop Crochet over here on YouTube and on Instagram. I am here today because I thought we could do a little pattern test review. I did get to test out this little otter knot right here. Let me take my little tag off of him. So this is a little pattern that I got to pattern test for Seville Plushies over on Instagram. And this was a test back in December, but she is releasing the pattern today. She took a little bit of a break and then came back. It's a great pattern. It's an awesome pattern, but that is a little spoiler alert. But I thought we could go over this pattern today. This is the one I have left. I did make 2 of them as a part of the pattern test. One of them did sell at one of my Christmas markets. It was so cute. The regular market that I go to is in a small town in their downtown park. There is a barbecue place that's pretty popular across the street. And so there was a man, he was on his way, he parked his truck, he was on his way to the barbecue place, and he looked over because he parked in front of the park because there's really no parking in front of the barbecue place directly usually during the day. And he beelined all of a sudden, just like he's walking in a straight line, and suddenly he just takes a sharp turn, comes straight to my booth and just goes, "I'll take one of these." And he's pointing to the little otter knots. And so I was like, "Okay, which one would you like?" And he kind of looks at them and he took the one I had. I did this one, and then I had one without the patch, and it just had like a little embroidered star, and then it had a little moon on the little butt. And so he took that one, and then he told me that he was having a son in 2 months. So the baby actually might be here now, and that the nursery theme was like space and rockets and stuff. So he took a little otter knot for him, and I thought that was so sweet. And I was so glad that I did like the little eye embroidery, and I was so happy because both of them had the eye embroidery. So it was safe for baby. So without further ado, I did do the pattern test for this back in December. And I love it. It's a great pattern. I made 2 of them right away. They didn't take too long. So I don't know exactly how long they took me to make, but I know I made 2 in 1 day. So I have 3 kids and I'm pretty busy. So that tells you it couldn't have taken me more than an hour or 2 to make 1. So that would have been the max time. It's hard for me sometimes to gauge exactly how long a pattern takes because I do usually get interrupted somehow. I'm surprised someone hasn't walked in already when I started recording. But yes, so this little guy, he's made with a helmet. The helmet comes off. And he's a little otter. Isn't that super cute? He's actually supposed to have a tail too back here, but when I put him together, I don't know why in my mind, if otters could go to space, why haven't they figured out how to keep their tail inside their spacesuit? So there's supposed to be a tail embroidered on the outside, but that was my thinking. So I was like, of course his tail would be on the inside of the suit, surely. And then I never put the tails on. But he has like these little ears, and then the head shape, I don't know. I just think she nailed it. Like, this is otter. Like, you look at it and you're like, is that a bear? No. And like, you know this is an otter, which I think is a really big accomplishment because it's in a spacesuit. So for you to be able to tell that it's an otter, I think that's a pretty big achievement. Now, this designer is actually also the designer of the barista, and I wish I had one to show you. I went through my stock because I thought I had one left, but I guess I must have sold it at my last market. The barista is a little bear, and it has like a little hat, a little apron, and you can crochet like little coffee or boba drinks to go with it. And so it's a bearista, like a coffee little barista. And it's adorable. I love that pattern. I was following her before that pattern came out. And so when she posted the tester call, I applied for the original barista. I was just a little baby Instagram account at the time. I did not get chosen. But the minute that pattern came out, I bought it and I made it. And I've sold 4 or 5 of those. But honestly, I would make it just for fun either way because I love them so much. Just like this one. Her patterns are just so cute. Oh, you know what? I've tested for her before, actually. I tested, let me go get it. Okay, so I feel like a bit of a dum-dum because when I was thinking back on I was trying to remember the rest of her patterns so that I I don't know, I guess give my opinion on how I think her patterns are going. And then I remembered this one. I pattern tested her little chipmunk for her. So this is a little chipmunk also by Sevo Plushies. This was a pattern test that I also did for her. And I mean, he's adorable, right? So look at like her head shape. She's really good at capturing like the animal essence, if that makes sense. That sounds super serious, but I don't know how else to explain it, because we all have seen the cow patterns, right? And it's like, so the cows are the cows are the cows. Like they're all just kind of like this. They get the oval muzzle. Like there's nothing like really that like you look at it and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, it's a cow. But there's nothing that's like, oh, that's a cow. And you somehow made it cute. But like, look at these. Like they're not the same head shape, but this is the same designer. There's a color change involved, right? So she's utilizing some of the same techniques, but the shape is different. The muzzle placement. This one, you know, it doesn't have the muzzle. There's a little bit of face shaping. And of course, this is my work, so I worked hard to make it look good. I'm not taking away from myself, but the design itself is really good. And then I did a little acorn on this one. So yeah, I've tested for her twice. No wonder I didn't get picked for barista. I had already tested for her. Duh. So that's why I was following her. I probably started following her for this pattern. Awesome. Okay. I am so sorry if you see this, Marge, that I completely spaced. But I did remember, so. And I can tell you, this one is a cutie. So this one I actually have never taken to market because I didn't want to sell it. I had this like really cool vintage yarn. I still have a lot of it. I haven't really used it very much, but I had it. I found it at Goodwill. There's a big old black bag of like some French vintage yarn. I can't remember the name of it right now, and I don't want to get it out because my closet's a mess. But that's what I used for this, and like if you can see, there's like this like halo effect in this yarn, and I just thought it looked really cool. And then so I used like some of my cotton and acrylic to do the striping details on the side and on the back, and then I used like a little, I don't know, like a weight 4 fur for the stomach, and then I used regular fur for the tail to create that. And then I did my little embroidery. That was back when I had aspirations of being one of those really cool people that does like the intricate embroidery on their plushies. I tried. It came out nice, but you know, I kind of took a little step back from that because it's hard. I'm not that good at it. Maybe I'll come back to it someday, but I like to try out different stuff. So like you'll see this one, like I did a little felt work where I did like, what is that called? I do know the name. It's a stitch. It's a blanket stitch. So I did like 2 pieces of felt, and then I did the blanket stitch border, and then I did like the little X because it's a little dead fish because otters like fish. So I was going for a theme, obviously. But yeah, Marge does great patterns. She really does. She really does. When she messaged the group chat last night and she was like, hey, I'm going to release the pattern tomorrow, I was like, oh no, because like I knew all my pictures that I had of the otter knot were like Christmas themed. So like they're all with my Christmas market decorations because that's when we were testing originally. And so I need to try to get some better pictures, maybe with some of my yarn in the background. But I thought about it and I was like, well, why don't I make a YouTube video for it? Because I really do love this pattern, you know. And I haven't really tested a pattern that I dislike, but you know, there are the ones that like, you're like, wow, like blew my socks off. I love the conception. You know, when she first posted the little preview of this pattern, I messaged her immediately. And I was like, you have got to make a pattern for that. It's gorgeous, you know, and she's just so good. So if you go to her Instagram, it is Sevo Plushies. I will put it in the description box. She has tons of pictures. She made this thing over and over and over and over and over to get it perfected. She actually posted the preview of it where she was like teasing it, like, oh, hey, I made this. Do you think you'd want a pattern? Kind of thing. Like way before she actually posted the tester call because she just kept making it over and over again so she could really work out the kinks. I don't even think we found any errors in it, actually, if I'm remembering correctly. I'm recording on my phone, so I can't check the group chat, but I'm pretty sure the group chat was pretty dead for this pattern because everyone, you know, not dead. well, I guess, yeah, dead. We didn't have anything to say. We were like, this is great. So usually if you got a notification for the group, it was just someone saying, I finished. Look at my cool little otter knot. I am going ahead and look at the pattern. I'm trying to hold it out of camera view because I don't want to give anyone any free stuff, you know. Oh, it is 40% off right now, this pattern. So if you're seeing this video and you are even the littlest bit interested, go and check it out because she is having a 40% off sale right now for this pattern. And today is, I don't know, the 7th maybe? The 8th? I'm not sure. Oh, it's Thursday in February. So for the pattern, I'm just looking over the notes right now just to give you a little rundown. So she does have the materials listed. She gives you the abbreviations right away. There's nothing crazy used in this pattern. You do use a half double crochet, you use back loops, you use front loops. In the intro, she does go over like what might be the most complicated part, which would be like knowing the half double crochet, the front loops, and the back loops. She has accessories for this pattern, and I don't have any of the accessories because they all sold with the one otter knot. Because, I mean, I guess, like, why wouldn't you want the whole set for your newborn, right? It was his first son. So sweet. So it comes with a UFO, a rocket, and a jetpack. And, like, y'all, that's, I don't know. She's a doll. This is, like, such high value, right? Because she gives you not only this, right? So not only the cute little plushie, but you get all these accessories too. And I'm not sure what the price is. I haven't looked, but I know that her barista wasn't that expensive because I'm someone who, if a pattern is over $5, it really takes me a minute to really agree to that pricing. There's very few patterns that I've paid over $5 for just because I want to try things, but there's also a lot of free patterns available. So for something, I have a tight budget. I have 3 kids, you know, I don't have like just endless buckets of money laying around here. So I do try to like stretch my hobby money, and yarn's expensive. So a lot of my hobby money goes to yarn. But I know that her barista, like I had no hesitation. So I don't think it's going to be very expensive, but 40% off is a great deal. And yeah, it's written really nicely. I don't even have any notes on my pattern, so I don't think that there were any errors. I think she just, because she really does pay that much attention to detail. I mean, if you go to her Instagram, she has so many pictures that are just hers. So usually someone makes something and then of course they're going to check their work, but a lot of the photos will be their testers photos, and she chose a lot of testers. I know there were even separate, there was Ribbler testers and then there were PDF testers. And so I know that her tester group was pretty large. So there were plenty of people looking over this pattern. So I know that it's top notch. And now I'm just rambling at this point, but I just can't, I don't know. I love it. I'm so happy I got to test it because it is a great pattern. It was written well. I already knew I would love it the minute that it came out because like, just look at it. It's so cute. So cute. I love it so much. And actually, now that I have it out, it's like reminding me that I want to make more of them with more accessories. And I'm probably going to do double the accessories this time because I had one of each accessory at my market and they all got bought up with one plushie. And that kind of makes sense, right? Like, I don't know. If you buy one, you might want to buy the whole set. And then her little chipmunk pattern is super cute too. So if you want just like a simple, cute chipmunk, her barista has a job and her otter has a job, but her chipmunk is unemployed. So, but he's super cute too. So I do love those. So as for pattern testing, I thought maybe we could chat a little bit about pattern tests because I've seen in some videos of the bigger YouTubers in the crochet community who, you know, have a couple of thousand subscribers and, you know, a pretty good following. They get a lot of interaction with their videos. I've seen them talking about pattern testing and wanting to get into pattern testing, but a lot of pattern testing happens really in 2 places. So in Ravelry, I think it does happen in Ribbler, but I don't know that much about Ribbler. I'm not really interested in it. I don't like it. But I know that Ravelry will have pattern testing specific groups, and then a lot of pattern testing happens on Instagram. So really, Instagram is where it's at. So if you're not very active on Instagram, it's kind of hard to get into pattern testing, even if you are someone that has, you know, 10, 12, 15 years of experience. Like if they can't see your online presence and they can't see like the pictures of your work, then it's kind of hard to get picked for pattern tests. So I thought maybe we could discuss what it's like to be a pattern tester. And I've also seen lately, not so much on Instagram, but I've seen it kind of a little bit on Reddit and then a little bit on YouTube, where people are having this conversation about unpaid labor. So what a pattern test is someone writes a pattern, right? Like Marge did for her little otter and her chipmunk. They write the pattern up, and then when it's ready, you know, ready to post or ready to sell, they'll put up a pattern testing call. And so basically what that is they throw up a post, they put some pictures, and they say, hey, who would like to test this? You know, this is the level that you need to be at. So if it's a super complicated pattern, they're going to want advanced crocheters. So they're going to say this is an advanced pattern. If it's a super simple pattern, they'll say it's an easy pattern. If it's a pattern that maybe has some twists and turns, like my Bulbasaur pattern. So my Bulbasaur pattern, in my opinion, is a beginner pattern. It is it uses some techniques that maybe you've never done before. And so when I did my tester call, I said it's going to be a beginner pattern with some, I forgot what I called it. I think I called it like fancy techniques with like the glitter little star emoji. And all it is connecting the legs. It can be a little strange if you've never done it before. And so that was really all that it was. Everything on here is single crochet. You're going in the round, you know, circle, 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 circle. But that's really all that's complicated about it. It is confusing. And so in my pattern, I did a diagram, I filmed a video for it. And so, you know, it still ends up being beginner friendly because there's a video tutorial that will show you how to do it. It is private, so don't click out of the video and try to go look for it. It's private. It's only available if you have the pattern, but it does. It follows through. It tells you exactly how we're going to do it, how we're going to connect it, and then, you know, how we're going to build the body, how we're going to go into the bulb, how the head is made, how the eyes are embroidered, which I don't think I can reach one. These eyes aren't actually finished. These are. You know, how I did my eye embroidery. So that's that really. Like you tell them how hard the pattern's going to be. And then if you find along the way that it's a little harder than maybe you thought, or maybe you aren't the best at gauging how hard it is, which I'm not. I think because I learned to crochet from YouTube, in my mind, as long as you're going to show me how to do something, then everything's beginner friendly, you know, like, so if you're going to hold my hand through it, then it's beginner friendly, which I discovered with like my Mr. Chimera pattern. So this guy. So when I made this guy, my testers were like, no, it's not beginner. And I was like, okay, I mean, it's easy, but they said like, no, like with so many techniques involved, it should be an intermediate. And so I moved it up to an intermediate pattern. All my testers finished it and they all did great, but I also picked really good testers. So while they were doing it, they were like, it's really great, it's cute, we love it, but I wouldn't call this a beginner. And so I didn't. I moved it up to intermediate. I don't know why that word tripped me up so bad. But so stuff like that. So that's why it's important to do tester calls, right? Because in my mind, it was a beginner pattern because I had, you know, the videos and the, you know, extra pictures to kind of walk you through the more complicated pieces. And so, but that was just my opinion, right? I put a video that you could watch step by step inside the pattern. And so in my mind, that made it, you know, beginner friendly. But we had the discussion and I was like, no, those are some fair points. You know, if someone isn't, you know, if they don't learn by video or something, it might be a little harder, or just, you know, it might just be intimidating. So that was great for me to do that tester group because we talked about it and I was like, you're right. I'm going to move it up to intermediate because someone who has never done these techniques before, maybe they might not feel so confident. And I've been crocheting for about 4 years now. So I guess I'm no longer a beginner crocheter. I don't know when that transition happens. I really don't. I'm not great at gauging, you know, who's going to be able to do what, because I guess I started with intermediate patterns because I was on YouTube, you know, you see them doing it, you want to do it. Some of the videos I was watching and following were in Spanish and they were like these really intricate dolls and I'm just there with my worsted weight yarn trying to follow along. So, but that is a great part of a crochet pattern, right? So you need testers. You know, it's a great thing to put your patterns through testing because you only have your point of view and you only have your experience. So because of my experience and because of the way I learned and because of, I guess, just my attitude, you know, my attitude is like, if I can see someone else doing it, I'm going to try, right? But that isn't going to be everyone's attitude. That's not going to be everyone's experience, you know? And so you don't want them to, I also don't want to kill anyone's passion for crochet. You know, I don't want someone to see one of my patterns and see beginner and try it, and they are truly in the early stages of their crochet journey, and then they don't want to crochet anymore because they think maybe they're just not good at it. And it's, you know, it's not that they're not good, it's just the pattern's a little too advanced for them. So that's how I feel about that. I think tester groups are important, if nothing else, than just to gauge where the pattern really should be ranked. Another good part of pattern testing is to find errors, of course. You find errors in the pattern, you want it to be reported. I have a lot in my pattern test groups specifically of like consistency. So like they'll always point out, you know, where maybe I used one way of arranging words and then in the next time I did a different way. And, you know, that kind of stuff doesn't bother me, but if someone else is noticing it, you know, that tells me, you know, maybe there is something to this, to where a different person, when they're reading it, they want to see, you know, that specific sentence written the same way every time. And, like, I don't know, it doesn't really make sense in my brain. It still doesn't, but I've gotten that from different people. So I have changed it. I go back and I'm like, okay, this specific sentence about, it's usually fastening off, like the way I word how you fasten off. And so like, I'll change it so that it matches, because of course, like if they're pointing it out, it's something that stood out to them. And that's why you have the tester group, because these are the kind of people that if you are selling your pattern, these are the kind of people that are going to be buying your pattern. And usually when you throw up a tester call, the people who are applying for the tester are people that are interested in those types of patterns. So I do mostly pop culture stuff so far. I've done a Koferi, Bulbasaur, and Mr. Chimera, which is an anime show. So anyone applying for these tester calls are usually fans of that kind of genre. So you want to take their feedback because they are the demographic, right? I mean, sometimes it's not. Sometimes there are those people that just apply to every tester call because they just want to do tester calls. They want to build up their portfolio so that they have more work to show. And also, you know, if they can't afford patterns, this is a great way to try new ones. There are tons of free patterns available. I'm not saying that you need to have free patterns. You need to have paid patterns. You absolutely do not. There are so many just around, even on Instagram, like free patterns. I have several free patterns on my page that I've written, and they're more simple. One of them actually isn't. One of them is actually a pretty long pattern, but one of them is just like for this little piggy, and like he's super cute, but like that one was a free one. And I'm not the only one. There's like tons. That's actually why I wrote free patterns, was because when I first started my crochet Instagram, I was crocheting a lot of free patterns. And then on YouTube, of course, too, there's lots of people that post free patterns and the step-by-step, and that's exactly how I learned, was watching these videos and following them. So that's my 2 cents. I think like pattern testing is important. So there has been, I didn't even tell you what the drama is. I just went right into like why I like pattern tests. So what I've seen around the discourse in the crochet community on Reddit, and I've seen a little bit on YouTube, just like in 2 videos, like not even a lot, is like the unpaid labor part of it. So when you apply for a pattern test, you're not going to get paid for it. It's just a person usually. It's typically it's a small business. There are larger ones like Mama Made Minis. They're still a small business, but they're larger. They have a big following. They get thousands of applications for their tester calls. But most people like me, I'm just a person. This isn't even really a business yet. like it feels weird to say, but I'm really just a person. So I wouldn't be able to pay, you know, like in my tester group so far, I've had 9 each time. I can't pay 9 people to test my pattern. And so that's kind of the argument, that it's unpaid labor and that there's too many expectations. Typically the expectations when you apply for a tester call are that you're going to test the pattern, you're going to provide your feedback, and you're also going to provide photos. Some people, I haven't seen it a lot, some people would put in the requirements that you are going to post, you know, a reel and a photo, you know, publicly and share to your story. I haven't seen it written out that explicitly very many times. I have seen it on a few posts where it says exactly what they want you to do. But for other ones, like this one that I did, she didn't have a specific, you know, you need to post this to your story or that to whatever. She just wanted really nice photos turned in at the end so that she can share them. And those photos are kind of important to show people that the pattern works. Because if you aren't providing photos, I could get the pattern, I could read it, and I could say, yeah, this looks great, go ahead. And if I'm not turning in photos, then, you know, there's really no proof that says that I saw this pattern, I did the pattern, and, you know, it worked out great. Creators have a private testing group already that they just go to, and they know that they're good, they know they're going to do consistent work, and they use their private testing group, and usually the pattern, they make it, they post about it, they do a teaser, and then it's suddenly for sale. You know, there's no pattern testing group in between. For small creators, the pattern testing section of it, the implementation in social media, has what really opened it up, right? Because if you think maybe 5-10 years ago, there were blogs. There's been crochet blogs for years, but you had to go look for those. If you wanted a lot of patterns usually came from books. And the books were usually by larger creators that were contacted by companies that wrote the patterns, had it tested by private people, or maybe they reached out to, you know, friends they already had in the community. It was tested, it was put in the group, it was a book, and it was published. Well, then you had people who learned to crochet, they learned to write their own patterns, and they started, you know, their blogs. But now we have, you know, Instagram, where even tiny little baby creators like myself can write a pattern and post about it, like my little pig. You know, this one I have up on my Instagram page for free. My first ever crochet pattern was a little teeny tiny chicken because I wanted something for my markets that I could sell for $5. And so I just made a little chicken that took me like 15 minutes so that I can sell it for $5. And I threw the pattern up because people were like, hey, what are these like small like chickens like this? Like, what are these? And so I just posted the pattern for free. I posted a reel. I didn't even do a pattern post right away. I just posted a reel and I was like, hey, here's the pattern. I didn't do a tester call for it. I just threw it up. But it's like the simplest, easiest thing to make though too. So like I knew it worked. I didn't need anyone to test it. Something like this that's like so intricate, you want to know that multiple people are going to be able to recreate something that's gorgeous, right? But all that to say, social media has opened up the crochet world so that even people, I think when I posted my chicken pattern, I had maybe 500 people, probably less, probably 400 following me. And so even teeny tiny little baby creators like myself, we could put up patterns. So when you are put in that position and you're just a person who doesn't have, you know, this isn't a full-time job, I'm not getting paid, you know, all of this that I'm doing is, you know, I get paid at markets, I guess, when people buy my stuff, and the occasional person who buys my patterns, but it's pretty much for free. So I don't have a huge budget. I don't have a lot of disposable income, you know, I'm just a regular person. So when I post my patterns, my pattern testing calls, like, of course I typically choose 9 people. I can't pay 9 people. I probably couldn't pay one person what they're worth. You know, if they're doing 2-3 hours of work for me, you know, $20 an hour, like I couldn't do that. That's crazy. So this idea of unpaid labor is kind of wild. I think amigurumi is a lot faster. You know, I think the longest amigurumi project that I've tested for is actually my Hydra that I just finished, and that was maybe 5 or 6 hours worth of work. I'm not really sure. It was over the span of a couple of days. It was a pretty complicated project, and it used a lot of yarn. So like that, you know, is a little expensive, but also it's an awesome project and I wanted to make it. You know, I don't want Kaylee, the creator, to pay me for that. That's crazy. And so like stuff like that, that's like community building, right? So like that's like another benefit of it is like, I talk to Kaylee, I talk to her pretty often, you know, I follow her, I enjoy her content. And when you're put in these little tester groups, like you usually do like come out of it with like 1 or 2 people that maybe you're not friends, but you follow each other and you interact more closely because you tested in the same group, you did the same project, and then you kind of come to know them a little bit more. I have one tester group that never stopped. The tester group, it wasn't my tester call, it was someone else's, but the tester group that we were all in, the chat never died. To this day, there's probably 20 notifications on my phone right now because these girls talk all day long. And so we're constantly, I'll go and there's just messages and I have to scroll and scroll and scroll so I can find out what we're talking about. And it's the same thing, everyone's posting every day. I just woke up to 200 messages, it's gonna take me a while to catch up. That tester call never died. We made like an actual like little friendship group out of it. And we've actually added people into the group. We made it bigger. So like stuff like that happens, right? So with amigurumi, I don't think they're talking specifically about amigurumi. I think they're talking mostly about wearables and like blankets and shawls and stuff. Those projects take longer. They can sometimes take weeks or days. And so I think that's what they're talking about because that's a big commitment when you're making a sweater that's going to take you 4 weeks. And, you know, maybe you need to buy like 5 or 6 skeins of yarn to complete it. I get it. I really, truly do. But also, the testers are by no means like, no one is going to your house and saying like, it's not jury duty, you know, like there's no notice like showing up at your door saying like, it's your turn, gotta get in here and test this sweater because you want to call yourself a crocheter. Like that doesn't happen. They're posting these tester calls, they're showing a sweater. I don't know, I don't think anyone like thinks I'm gonna crochet a sweater and it's gonna take me 2 hours. Like I feel like people understand that wearables take a long time to make. Like that's a big commitment that you're making when you say that you're gonna make a wearable. And especially like if you don't have the money or the time or the materials. Now, I think part of it comes into play when people do not finish the project. So there is kind of an expectation that if you do not finish a pattern test, that you pay for the pattern. And I know that's a rough spot with people. There's like some real strong feelings from some people. I'm somewhere in the middle, because I do kind of understand. So things happen, right? You may not complete the pattern. You may be someone who also cannot afford to buy a pattern, right? And so there's no real way to like enforce it. There's no real way that you're not going to report them to like a crediting agency or something. So usually it's just like an expectation that that's going to happen. And I understand, like, it's like, oh, like, it's free marketing, it's free pictures, it's free work because they're testing it for you. Like, you should just be grateful. And yes, but also I think there are people out there that just apply for pattern tester calls without any sort of even, like, intention. Like, they have no intention of completing the pattern. I don't think most designers are going to be willing to actually even blast someone. So if someone was, you know, someone who applies for tester calls, gets the pattern and like never even tries to do it, I don't think that we would even like really hear about it very much. Maybe in private chats, but I don't think people really would do that because you don't really want to be seen as someone who's attacking someone. And I do understand it from, I've had a pattern test that I didn't finish before. And the designer was like, hey, like, you didn't finish, like, you have to pay me. And I was like, oof, okay. And so I did. I paid her. And that was the end of it. And so I have actually had people not finish my pattern tester calls. I've never asked for payment. So that's not something I'm comfortable doing because I do believe like stuff does come up. I haven't been in a situation yet where, you know, I don't know. I'm not going to dwell on it. But I have had 2 people just like voluntarily go to my Etsy on release day and buy the pattern, you know? And that was just them like being a high integrity person, I guess. Integrity is important to them. They couldn't finish the tester call, you know. Sometimes you overcommit if you apply to too many tester calls and you have them all. You know, I have a few friends that they literally are pattern testing 4 or 5 projects like in 1 week. Like they have just every day, just stacked and posting every day. I finished this pattern test for so-and-so, this pattern test and this pattern test. And so I can understand how maybe like it can get away from you real quick when you start to get that momentum and people are seeing your work. And so when you're applying, they're choosing you because they see that you do great work. You know, you can get in over your head. So I haven't actually been in a situation where I've had to ask somebody for money. I don't know that I ever will, but I also don't hold it against designers who do. There's also a discourse about timing, that people aren't giving enough time to complete their projects, and so therefore it's unfair for you to ask them for money. Yes and no. I understand. I've had pattern tester calls where I'm in the middle of like writing my comment that I want to apply for it when I realize the window. I've seen pattern testing calls where they want your pictures in 3 days for amigurumi. And so typical amigurumi is like, 1 to 5 hours maybe, right? If it's a complicated pattern, 5 hours. If it's a pretty simple pattern, which sometimes people do. Sometimes people sell patterns and it's just just like a circle with some baubles and some chains. And so it takes me, 25 minutes maybe to make. So yes, of course, 3 days, within 3 days I can finish this. But if I have other stuff going on, if I have priorities and I see it on there, they want photos in 3 days, I won't apply for it. I won't, because I don't want to be put in a situation where I'm applying for something that I have no hopes of completing, because I do. I have 3 children, I have a husband, I have a dog and a cat. Like, I have a lot of stuff going on. I don't want to ever be in a situation where like I did this to myself, And I do, like, sometimes I have to stay up late and crochet to finish a project, but usually, it's not, I don't want to stress out so much over it. That's occasional. So, sometimes there are like pretty quick turnarounds. Like they give you the pattern and they want it right back. And so for those, I really won't apply, but also it says it right there, plain and simple. And so, every time you apply for a tester call, like, you really need to be like being realistic with yourself. Like, yeah, sure, 3 days is, 72 hours, and this is going to take you 25 minutes. But within those 72 hours, like, are you sure? Like, are you confident in yourself? Like, you have, if you have like a cozy little crochet block where, like 4 hours every day I sit down and crochet and it's never interrupted, then yeah, you can do it. There shouldn't be a problem, unless something major happens. But for someone like me, like, no, my crochet time is interrupted all the time. There are days where I can't finish, 30 minutes of crochet straight without being interrupted. So, like, I won't apply for those. If it's a week or longer, we're golden. I will get it done. But, that's just like personal accountability. So, like, I get that aspect of it, especially when we're talking garments, I've read about it where they're like, oh, and like the testing period was a week and, it was a sweater or whatever. Like, yeah, I wouldn't apply for that. But if you are applying for it and you are someone who, I'm assuming if they picked you, then you've already shown them, like, I've crocheted this sweater and that sweater and, it's on your Instagram, because for amigurumi, usually you have to have evidence, that you know how to crochet amigurumi before they're going to pick you. So if you're picking you for a sweater, then you've crocheted sweaters. If you've crocheted a sweater, then you know how long it takes. I have half a sweater, and I know that it takes forever. So if there's someone that's saying they want the sweater in a week, but I don't have, 12 hours in that week that I can spend just sitting and crocheting, I'm not going to apply for that. So, that's kind of the onus on the crocheter. I don't think that's exploitation. I don't think that's like unnecessary. Like, I can see what you're saying. Maybe they need to open up their tester windows. But, maybe if people wouldn't apply, like if no one applies for it because they think it's unreasonable, then maybe they'll know, like, hey, no, I can't. Or maybe before applying for it, you message them and say, like, hey, I will not be able to get this done in a week. I'd really like to test for you, but like, I wouldn't be able to get it done, for 2 or 3 weeks. Like, I would need a larger window. I'm not going to apply, but I'm going to put that, send you this message so you can write my name down in case you decide to give a bigger window, right? And that's just like the responsible thing to do. Like, don't apply for a pattern test knowing you can't do it. Like, you have a competition and a market and, you have 4 other things to do that week, but you want to apply because you don't want to miss it. Like, that's kind of irresponsible. And it's kind of, it's kind of rude, right? So you're applying for it and maybe you have a great portfolio and you have amazing skills. So like, you're gonna get chosen, but you know that you have 2 other pattern tests, you have a market, and you have, your daughter's cheerleading practice 3 times that week. Like, how busy you are, but you're applying it and you're taking that spot away from someone who maybe would have like oodles of time to sit down and devote to the project. So I can kind of see it from both sides. I do understand, like, life happens. Like, I've been in a group before where one of the girls, you know, like someone in her family fell ill and so she was busy, she couldn't finish. Like, obviously, like that is someone, I hope to God that no one asked her for payment at the end of it, because that would be ridiculous. I don't think anyone did, but you know, like that's life. Life happens. You having an already like busy week blocked out and scheduled out isn't life happening. That's you you're overcommitting yourself. So that's how I feel about that. I feel like that's kind of a controversial opinion, but don't cancel me. Like I have like 40 just subscribers. Don't cancel me yet. But anyways, that's all I have to say about that. I just thought it was kind of funny. I understand I'm not in the garment world, so, you know, that's kind of out of my wheelhouse. Maybe I'm talking way out of pocket right now and like I don't know what I'm saying, but just like from a like outsider looking in, I think like don't apply to their tester calls. Send them a message. Say like, that's not long enough. I would love to apply, but like I would need 6 weeks or whatever. Like tell them that. Give them this feedback. Don't apply for their tester calls. And like, that's the way you get change going, right? Like if no one is applying to their tester calls and they really want to get, you know, like part of it is marketing, right? Like I'm not going to lie. Part of it is like you want people talking about your pattern. You want to build up a little bit of a buzz so that people want to buy it. And then you also want the social proof, right? Like this is social proof for Siva plushies. Like her plushie is adorable, you know? She's not doing, I don't know what she could be doing, AGI. Like, I don't know like what else like around it, but like the pattern works. It's adorable. It's wonderful. It's gorgeous. I love it. It's not very hard. You learn some new techniques, right? Like, so if you've never made a helmet, you're going to learn how to make a helmet, which is super cool in my opinion, because that's the only way you can learn how to do like more complicated things is to try. So, but like, it's not hard. It's not hard at all. But in order, like, this is like proof for her, right? So like her pattern works. It's adorable. You know, I love it. I'm just like a regular person, you know, I can do it. So if I can do it, you can do it. But like, that's part of the marketing, right? Like if I can do it and, you know, like everyone else testing the pattern can do it, then, you know, you can do it too. And like, that's how you sell things. So there is an aspect of sales to pattern testing that is a benefit to them. Now, if her pattern goes viral and like she makes all this money, like, does she owe me something? No. That's like, honestly, like that's the dream. That's the luck of the draw. And she has had a pattern go viral before. Her barista bear, oh, that pattern was everywhere when it came out and it was gorgeous and she deserved it. She deserved it. She created that pattern and that pattern went viral and it was off of one of her testers' videos. One of her testers posted like a super cute video and everyone loved it. But like, she still deserves that credit because it is her idea, right? She deserves, like if I made a really cool video of this shooting off a rocket and for some reason, you know, everyone turned into space lovers and they wanted to all buy the Otternaut, like she still deserves that credit because it is still her pattern. Like maybe I made a really cool video that showcased it, but she still deserves the credit. And so I think like people get a little bit salty, you know, because like, yeah, sure, like you crochet it and like maybe you post about it and then the designer gets the credit, but like, I don't know, it's her pattern, so I didn't make it. Like if I had completely changed this and did something super unique and then she got the credit, like that would suck. But I didn't. I followed her pattern. I added a little patch to it. If she goes viral off of like a little patch, like that's still her. That's still all her, right? Because I wouldn't have ever even made it if she did. Like there's nowhere in my brain where I would have said, I want to make an otter and I want to make him an astronaut. Like I can't imagine that ever happening, even though like my son's name is Asher, and when he was born, I used to call him Astronaut. And so when I made these, I was like, look, Asher, it's an Otternaut. It's for you. This is Asher the Otternaut. And so like, he thought that was hilarious. But like, even like, you know, I wouldn't have though. So that's great. So I think we need to give designers a little bit of credit and a little bit of a break. Not all designers are nice, you know, but I think like overall, right? Because we have to remember at the end of the day, most of these people, even after they go viral, they're still working their day jobs. They're still like, you know, clocking in. They have a boss, you know, unless like some of them are stay-at-home moms. Like me, I'm a nurse, I'm an RN, but I'm also a stay-at-home mom now, like for the meantime, luckily. But, you know, we're all just people. So I think we need to soften up a little bit, right? Like give people a break. And wish them luck, you know? Like if someone gets to go viral, if they have that, like, if they have that luck, like just like be happy for them. I don't know. I'm very new at this, guys, so like, I'm sorry if I'm all over the place. I don't really know. I think I've stayed, you know, on track, on point, but, oh, my boys are getting loud. I can hear them. But I am very new at this, so like, I guess I'm rambling. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this short. Like, I love it. It's great. I highly recommend Sevo Plushies, Marge, her pattern. It's great. I love it. I love all her patterns. I wish I had my barista to show you guys because that would be so cool because I don't know if she has any other patterns, but like if it's not, if it's just these 3, then that means like I have all her patterns. I have like a whole collection. I feel like a groupie. I'm a Sevo Plushies groupie. But I think that's it. If there is, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. They're like playing. My son, my littlest one, I have a 2-year-old, he's obsessed with Thor and Hulk right now, and they're playing like superheroes together, and I guess he's being Hulk because I hear him, he's like roaring. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. If you made it to the end, please leave me a comment down below of like, you know, your experiences pattern testing. Do you have a favorite? Ooh, let's all link patterns. If you have a pattern that you've pattern tested that you love, please link it down below. I would love to look at it. And if you have any patterns that you've recently released, or if you have any tester calls coming up, feel free to promote yourself. Do it. I don't care. Promote yourself everywhere. Sprinkle it around, and let's all just kind of like support yourself. And if you're watching this video in the future, when hopefully I have a bigger following, do the same thing. I don't care. Show me. I'm sure I'll get the notification. I'll get to see it. Maybe I'll promote your pattern. Maybe I'll have like, you know, like a following, like a couple thousand people that I can tell about your pattern. All right. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Betty from Happy Little Loop Crochet, and I hope to see you again soon.